Welcome to another video. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell icon for more great content like this. This is an overview of a sprint or rally tarmac type data logger setup. It's an older generation of system. It's an Evo 4 with a GT320 steering wheel and a G dash as this is the primary display and the G dash is the co-driver display. This is using a first gen SmartyCam. These are all connected here. What you're seeing on the screen is a live view of the devices and the screens there. I have a overview of kind of the layout of the entire system because there's a number of different sensors that come with this particular kit. And then in the background, you're seeing the live SmartyCam feed. So if I move the SmartyCam here, you'll see obviously the video in the background moving as well as the GE sensor here. And it's showing live readings from a few sensors that are plugged in currently. So just to give an overview of exactly what's included in this particular kit, um, I'll maximize this somewhat. And what we have is an Evo 4 as the primary data logging device, and that has 5 channel inputs. And intentionally, for high speed reasons, to record each individual wheel travel, we're using these linear potentiometers. For the front of the car, they're 150 millimeters long. For the rear, they're 200 millimeters long. The Evo 4 offers up to 1,000 hertz of recording frequency, so that's good for doing suspension analysis. Um, so I can show an example of that shortly, but we also have a steering angle sensor, and that's just a rotary potentiometer here. The Evo 4 does have its own GPS and then just power and ground. In order to have the number of sensors that we're seeing here, it's requiring 3 different channel expansions to get to 16, 17 actually channels in total. So the first hub is plugged into the CAN expansion port here. And then the 2 displays are plugged into the first 2 ports of the first hub. So we have the GT320 wheel with the paddle shift. We have the co-driver display here, and that is a G-dash. Then we have 8 wheel temp sensors, and those are infrared wheel temp sensors, and that's in the second and or sorry, the first and the second channel expansion, and that's plugged into the third port here. To piggyback off of the first CAN hub, we have a second CAN hub here that's plugged into the fourth port of the first CAN hub, and then that allows us to connect 2 additional channel expansions with more infrared potential or infrared tire temp sensors. So we have 2 for each wheel, the inside and the outside of all 4 corners of the car. Front and rear brake pressure. Those are 0 to 5,000 psi sensors, and then gearbox temperature sensor and a diff temp sensor. The final thing that's connected via CAN is a SmartyCam. This particular one's a standalone unit that has a separate GPS antenna. It's somewhat redundant, but it's good to know that this particular unit can operate on its own. So I'll shrink this layout diagram in the background just so you can see some demo of what's happening here, just so you can kind of remember the sensor layout. So the first thing that we're having displayed is H2O temp, which is the coolant temp that's coming from the ECU. So this is for a Subaru Tarmac rally car. We don't have it currently connected to the car, so RPM and some boost pressure and coolant temperature are not being shown, but we do have gearbox temp sensor and a diff temp sensor. So these are just PT100 sensors. I'll heat up with my hand the diff temp sensor here, and you'll be able to see that value live on the screen going up. Once the device starts recording, so it uses an accelerometer to trigger recording as well in conjunction. The data logging will happen if the speed or the RPM reaches a certain threshold, but the SmartyCam will record based on accelerometer data, and it will turn on once the device turns on and the vehicle power turns on. So once you start actually recording, it'll show the distance here and the altitude once you go outdoors and you get GPS reception. So we can go through some more sensors here. We had a steering angle sensor, which I can show. right here. So as I move this sensor, you'll see steering where the cursor is there will change. I can max it out and get to 100. So that will monitor the steering angle here. That will require a custom calibration within the vehicle depending on how the geometry of how it's mounted and the way that you choose to select to actually actuate the movement. Um, there is time here, rolling time, and then um, date and the lap number, and then lap time here. We have a G ball for the accelerometer, so if we move this, you can see obviously the G ball moving. Brake pressure in this particular instance is based on accelerometer data, so as I change the acceleration here, you'll see the brake pressure moving. Throttle is based off of ECU throttle signal that's coming from the ECU stream. And then we have RPM gear indicator, that's a calculated gear indicator, and then speed from GPS. So now to look at the driver displays, we can actually go through and we see some alarms here, and these are to signify tire temps. So they're blue. It's a little difficult to see with the lighting, but those are blue. We have an array of 8 tire temps plugged in right now. If I just put my hand in front, you can see that the blue changes to cyan. So the temperature of my hand, I'll show kind of the functionality of the co-driver display. Now they're just currently displaying the same thing. But if I scroll through here on this screen, we'll see the tire temps in degrees Celsius here. So if I put my hand here, you'll see some of them go to about 35, and that's enough to trigger these 2 bottom lights. I'm putting my hands on the rear sensors. The 2 bottom lights there are turning cyan as the temperature of the tire will warm up. If I do it to the rears, we'll see them, or sorry, the fronts, we'll see those 2 shift. If I unplug any of them, the sensor will go full scale, so it'll show as the left front tire overheat, and you can see that warning being displayed here. So if we go to the next page here, it's going to show that that left front tire is 105 degrees Celsius, which is overheating the tire. So we'll scroll through because we're not connected to an ECU. We're not going to see a lot of ECU data, but we do have one of the shock potentiometers here. So if I extend that, we can see as the suspension travel moves there. So that will be similar for all 4 corners of the vehicle on that screen. Similarly, we can look at the same data here. Okay, so we'll go back here on this page, and on the co-driver display, we have engine coolant temperature. This is the logger temperature of the actual data logger. This is the gearbox temperature in Fahrenheit. All of these are now in Fahrenheit. The customer preferred it that way. And this is diff temperature here. So you can see they're all fairly similar to one another. These are pressure sensors, so we don't have them plugged in, so you see the values just floating around. These are the front and rear brake pressure sensors. Then this is ECU data, so we have map sensor, so that would be displayed as boost here. So that's map signal or manifold air pressure. We have knock degrees here, so this is the knock advance of this particular ECU protocol, and then the variable valve timing angle on the left and right banks. We'll keep scrolling through. This is a big gear indicator that will get shown once the engine starts and you'll be able to start moving. It'll calculate the gear position. Because we're indoors, you can see the final page or the second last page here will show your GPS status. So we have poor reception right now. And then the final page here will show SmartyCam data. So currently it's not recording, and this is 4 gigabytes available. You can see how much, sorry, a 4 gigabyte SD card. You can see how much is available there. So now we can look at similar things on the GT320 wheel. So I'll just shift through. These 2 screens are very similar to one another in terms of logic. The array of shift lights up here is freely configurable, and we have a similar array right here that I can activate based on RPM or predictive timing. You can see the two shift paddles back here as well. So I'll keep scrolling through the pages here, similar to what we had on the G-Dash co-driver display. We have some additional parameters being displayed here. So we have battery voltage. That's the battery voltage of the vehicle when it's connected to the vehicle, but currently just the power source that we have the logger connected to. You can see it's just captured GPS signal. These are the lateral, longitudinal, and vertical Gs that the logger accelerometer is seeing. Once again, the ECU parameters, GPS data, and SmartyCam. So you can see how these two displays pretty much are showing the same data. This is configured in Race Studio 3, so this is technically the master, or sorry, Race Studio 2, my apologies. This is technically the master display. This one, which is the co-driver display, is actually configured directly on the device. So we can go here and go into menu, and we can go display setup, and we can actually go to page setup here, and we can scroll through each of the pages if we click change, custom 1, custom 2. So I think there is up to 8 pages. So we'll configure a new page here quickly, and we will say we want to enable the 8th page. We are going to have one data field, and we'll configure it to be lap time. So only lap time for the driver display, but we can change that if we want. Let's say rolling time. That might be better. So we'll have rolling time here for the driver display. So when we go back, we can see rolling time is that that particular screen, and then we have the two status screens, and then back to the home screen. So we can also go back in the other direction and see rolling time there. So nice little co-driver display unit, perfect for a tarmac rally car, something where a co-driver is applicable, and you want to have one central logging location, but separate displays for driver and co-driver. The alarms for both units are configured in Race Studio 2, so this is technically just a display. The alarms are will be whatever is being showed here, shown on the GT320 wheel. The wheel does have some outputs for separate buttons. So these buttons actually control the display, but these buttons control external outputs. So you can use this to switch things like headlights, turn signals, thermal fans, things like that with a relay if it's a high power device. These are low current switches and circuits. Similarly, there is horn buttons that you can wire to your horns here and here. That kind of summarizes the functionality. We can also look within Race Studio 3 to see all the live data. I'll bring that up here. We'll go online. You should be able to see that now. I'll minimize the layout image over here. I'll move the live video of the display. And you can see, let's say for the first distance potentiometer here, once we go online with a particular unit, we can actually move this potentiometer and see, similarly to what we were seeing on the SmartyCam, although the SmartyCam wasn't recording, but we can see this in Race Studio 3. So just different ways of visualizing the data live. We have error messages here for the ECU data, once again, because we're not connected. Looking at the array of temp sensors here, so I can put my hand in front of 4 of them. So these are the rear ones here. And you can see it's about 35 degrees, which is my skin temperature. And then I'll put my hand in front of the front ones, and you can see the conditional alarms and everything behaving as one might expect there. Once again, the say gearbox temp, apologies, this one here. So that one now we can move from ambient to about 83 by putting my hand on it. And the steering angle is the final sensor that we have plugged in. Exactly what we were visualizing with the SmartyCam, we can see in the live screen of, or online screen of Race Studio 3. 2, apologies. So we will see that in steer angle here. So between 100 and 0. If you have any questions regarding getting a system like this, we have them on our website. They are available for a variety of different configurations. Obviously, this one is optioned with a number of different sensors, as you can see in the layout diagram. I'll bring back the smart cam view just to make it a little bit easier here to see. Smarty cam, put this back up here. And we'll move the layout back to where we had it previously. So this one has a first gen Smarty Cam, but you can use a newer gen Smarty Cam. We can use the Formula wheels with a Race Studio 3 device, so that could be an MXS 1.2, an MXS 1.0, MXP, MXG. It works with an Evo 4. Obviously, all the latest generation of AiM data loggers will work. The co-driver display is something that's nice, so we can do that with a GS display or an MXS and a Formula wheel type setup. So that's something that's great for co-driving environment. The array of sensors here is typical of a Tarmac rally car, but we could add a variety of different ones. And feel free to contact us if you have any questions, as I mentioned previously. Also, if you like this type of video, definitely like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Thanks again, and we look forward to hearing from you.